You brush your teeth twice a day, floss occasionally out of guilt, and still end up in a dentist's chair every 6 months for a cleaning, and sometimes a filling, and sometimes something a lot more expensive and unpleasant than that. Now picture a wolf tearing raw meat off a bone with teeth that have never seen a toothbrush, never been flossed, never had a single professional cleaning in its entire life. And somehow, that wolf's teeth are often in remarkably better condition than yours were before your last dentist visit. So, why don't wild animals get cavities, gum disease, and the constant dental breakdown that seems to plague humans despite all our hygiene tools? The answer involves diet, jaw mechanics, and one genuinely surprising exception that breaks the whole pattern. Asterisk. Let's start with the most obvious difference because it's also the most important one. Human tooth decay is overwhelmingly driven by bacteria feeding on sugars and refined carbohydrates, producing acid that erodes enamel over time. Research on oral microbiomes, including studies comparing modern human populations to hunter-gatherer groups, has consistently found that diets high in processed sugar and starch dramatically increase cavity-causing bacterial activity. Wild animals, by contrast, generally eat diets with far less fermentable sugar and starch, particularly carnivores and many herbivores eating unprocessed fibrous plant matter or raw meat and bone, neither of which feeds cavity-causing bacteria anywhere near as efficiently as a human diet loaded with refined carbohydrates. In other words, a huge part of the human dental crisis isn't really about hygiene at all. It's about exactly what we're regularly feeding the bacteria living inside our own mouths. That's a strong start to the explanation. But diet alone doesn't cover everything, because plenty of wild animals eat things that seem like they'd wreck their teeth just as badly. Asterisk. Now here's the part nobody talks about. The physical act of eating in the wild functions almost like a built-in cleaning system. Veterinary dental research on carnivores has found that tearing, gnawing, and crunching through raw meat, cartilage, and bone provides significant mechanical abrasive cleaning, physically scraping plaque and food debris off teeth during the normal eating process. Studies comparing wild and captive carnivore dental health, including research published in veterinary and zoological journals, have repeatedly found that captive animals fed softer, processed diets show significantly higher rates of dental disease, including plaque buildup and periodontal issues, compared to wild counterparts eating tougher, more mechanically abrasive natural food. This is a genuinely elegant system. Every meal a wild predator eats doubles as a dental cleaning, purely as a side effect of how tough and fibrous their actual food happens to be. Humans, by contrast, eat soft, more processed food that requires far less chewing and provides almost none of that mechanical scraping benefit. So diet composition and eating mechanics both matter enormously. But there's a third factor that might be even more fundamental, and it has nothing to do with what animals eat at all. Here's where it gets genuinely surprising, because some animals' teeth are built completely differently from ours, in a way that sidesteps the whole problem. Many herbivorous mammals, including horses, deer, and rodents, have teeth that grow continuously throughout their lives, specifically evolved to compensate for the constant heavy wear caused by grinding tough, fibrous plant material. Research on continuously growing teeth, called hypsilodont teeth in dental and veterinary literature, shows this adaptation essentially solves tooth wear before it becomes a problem, since the tooth simply regenerates faster than it wears down. Humans, along with most other mammals, have a fixed set of teeth that must last an entire lifetime with zero natural regeneration, meaning any significant damage or decay is permanent in a way it simply isn't for these species. This is a genuinely different evolutionary strategy entirely, not just better maintenance. Some animals didn't need to avoid the wear and tear problem. They evolved teeth that regenerate around it. But that raises an obvious question, because not every animal has this convenient regenerating teeth advantage. So what happens to species stuck with a fixed set of teeth, just like us? But wait, surely animals with fixed, non-regenerating teeth, like primates closely related to humans, must experience some dental problems too? They absolutely do, and this is where the picture gets more balanced. Studies examining wild primate populations, including research on wild chimpanzees, have documented real cases of tooth wear, dental abscesses, and even tooth loss, particularly in older individuals, showing that fixed-tooth species in the wild aren't magically immune to dental problems. The difference tends to be one of degree and speed rather than complete immunity. Wild primates generally experience these issues later in life and less severely than would be expected under a heavily processed, high-sugar human-style diet, but they're not walking around with flawless teeth their entire lives either. So the honest picture isn't, wild animals never get dental problems. It's closer to wild animals on average face a much slower, much less severe version of the same basic problem, largely because their diet doesn't accelerate it the way ours does. And that's really the thread connecting everything in this story. A wolf's teeth are not clean because someone cleans them. They are clean because every meal scrapes them, tears them, and works them exactly the way evolution intended. A horse's teeth do not wear down forever. They simply grow back faster than the grinding can win. A human tooth, fixed and permanent, given food built to feed the exact bacteria trying to destroy it, was never given the natural advantages most of the animal kingdom quietly relies on every single day. That's the real answer hiding underneath the initial question. Wild animals aren't dentally superior by accident. They're working with completely different tools, completely different diets, and in some cases, completely different biology, built specifically around the food they actually evolved to eat. So what about the exceptions? Because surely some wild animals do experience serious human-like dental disease. They do, and it's a genuinely interesting exception. Sea otters, for instance, despite eating a mostly wild, unprocessed diet, have been found in multiple studies to have surprisingly high rates of dental fractures and wear, largely because they use their teeth to crack open hard-shelled prey like clams, crabs, and sea urchins, a mechanically brutal use of teeth that causes real cumulative damage over a lifetime. Similarly, giant pandas, despite an entirely plant-based diet, show significant tooth wear from constantly grinding tough bamboo, sometimes leading to real dental problems as they age. Diet composition matters enormously for cavity prevention specifically, but it doesn't protect against every possible form of dental damage, especially from mechanically demanding feeding behaviors. Which is a useful reminder that wild animals don't need dentists was always a bit of an overstatement. They mostly avoid the specific problem humans face, sugar-driven decay, while still being vulnerable to entirely different dental problems shaped by whatever specific demanding way they happen to eat. So back to that wolf, tearing meat off a bone, teeth doing exactly what millions of years of evolution built them to do. That wolf was never following some secret dental hygiene routine you're missing out on. It's simply eating food that doesn't feed cavity bacteria, chewing in a way that mechanically cleans its own teeth, and in many cases, working with completely different biological tools than you have access to at all. Your twice daily brushing isn't overkill. It's genuinely necessary, precisely because your modern diet and fixed, non-regenerating teeth never got any of nature's built-in shortcuts. Wild animals didn't figure out dental care. They just never needed to invent it in the first place.